This is 5 on your side at 5. Focused on you.
Tonight, we have new details about a deadly shooting in downtown St. Louis. Police say an officer shot and killed a suspect who was firing shots at someone else. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Ann Allred. In the last few hours, we learned that other person who the suspect was targeting also died from gunshot wounds. This all happened right across from City Hall near Enterprise Center. And that's where our Megan Kernan joins us live tonight. Megan?
And we know that an officer was working on a mobile surveillance camera unit on Market Street this morning when all of a sudden he heard gunshots and saw one man chasing after another man. Police say they both started running toward the officer, and while gunfire was being exchanged, the officer stepped in. The officer says he pulled out his gun, shooting and killing the suspect. The 42-year-old officer was not hurt. The man shot by the suspect was taken to the hospital, and just hours ago, we learned that he also died. Meanwhile, take a look at this exclusive dash cam video we got from an eyewitness. Aaron Laxton was grabbing coffee downtown when he watched and heard all of this unfold from his car. He called 911 after hearing about 15 to 20 shots.
Playing that game of is it gunshots or fireworks, and so trying to figure that out, and then I started to see people respond. Jumped on the phone with 911, pulled around. This type of stuff downtown this early in the morning is kind of out of the norm. And I think that's probably what caught a lot of people by surprise.
You can see as Laxton turns onto Market Street, pieces of clothing and what looks like a backpack were in the middle of the street. Laxton pulled up as one of the first to the scene while still on the phone with dispatchers. Now, we've asked SLMPD multiple times about when the video from today's shooting will be released, but they do not have a timeline. I also asked if this was the officer's first officer-involved shooting. While they didn't directly answer, they told us that this officer has 18 years of service with the department. Live in downtown St. Louis, Megan Kernan, 5 on your side.
And the shooting happened near the homeless encampment that has been outside City Hall for some time. Today, 4 hours after the deadly shooting, city crews arrived and cleared out the camp.
5 on your side's Holden Kurwicki continues our team coverage in downtown St. Louis.
Well, and Kelly, at this time, police won't confirm if those 2 people involved in that shooting actually lived in the homeless camp, but the 2 men who were seen running from the area after the shooting were running from the area where that camp had previously stood. Our cameras were there around 11:30 this morning, several hours after the shooting, when city crews worked to clear the final people who were living at the encampment for the second time at the order of Mayor Tashar Jones. Alderman Rasheen Aldridge told me that while he supports homeless camps, things had gotten out of hand outside of City Hall, with SLMPD responding to 230 calls since the first of the year. But he's not a fan of the way the city has been quietly clearing camps for the last several months.
The city has, done these breakups in a way that probably wasn't the best holistic way to do it. I get to, at some point it's about safety for our unhoused residents, it's about safety for pedestrians that walk up and down the street as well as vehicles. But I think there's a way that we can do it in a way that doesn't, look like we just don't care about unhoused.
Coming up at 6, I'll explain why Aldridge believes it's time for the city to overhaul the way that it handles homeless encampments and shelters which work with the unhoused. Reporting live downtown, Holden Kurwicki, 5 on your side.
Some developing news right now. Crews are on the scene of a crash involving 2 semis. This is on eastbound Interstate 70. This is near Grand. We're told one of the semis caught on fire. No word if anyone's hurt. Traffic you can see is backed up in the area, but cars are slowly getting through that way.
Now to our weather first forecast. Finally, a nice weekend ahead of us.
Let's check in with meteorologist Jim Castillo.
Yeah, good to see you guys on this Friday. So we're all talking about a huge solar storm, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in Maine weather. Will we see the aurora borealis or the northern lights? Well, right now, you can't. The sun is out, and of course we have clouds in the area. We are expecting some clearing, but yes, a beautiful weekend as we clear up and a dry weekend for Mother's Day. And it was relatively cool today. In fact, we're in the upper 60s and low 70s right now across the area. And of course, the space weather, boy, everybody's talking about that. And we'll see if we can get these auroras down here. Again, I've never seen them. I grew up here in St. Louis. So we'll check in and throughout the entire evening to see if anyone around the area or how close those auroras are getting. Okay, much more on the weather forecast coming up in just a bit.
All right, Jim.
Today, a juvenile court officer said a 15-year-old girl accused of beating another teenager and putting her in a coma should not be certified to stand trial as an adult.
Christine Byers was in juvenile court today as the officer made his recommendation to a judge, and she's here to explain why the recommendation comes as no surprise to many legal experts.
Justice in the juvenile system is much different than the adult system. Simply put, juvenile court looks at a minor's character and history, not just the criminal act committed by a person with a juvenile brain. Cell phone video of the March 8th attack went viral, prompting politicians and people across the country to call for Maurtney's Decloux to be charged as an adult. But the deputy juvenile officer in charge of the investigation said today that the juvenile system has services that can rehabilitate the 15-year-old. She said her main reason for her recommendation was because Decloux has no prior run-ins with juvenile authorities or disciplinary issues at school. In court today, the officer confirmed the police report showed Kaylee Gain threw the first punch before Decloux critically injured her.
And she is a child, let's not forget that. And sometimes children get involved in things that mom and dad can't control. That's why we have juvenile courts, and that's why she should stay in juvenile court.
Now, also today, Decloux learned she would remain in custody for the foreseeable future. She's had death threats, and she also hasn't changed since the assault, so there's no proof she won't reoffend. Now, those are the reasons why juvenile authorities said keeping her in detention would keep her and the public safe. The judge agreed, and he's expected to issue his ruling on her certification in the coming weeks.
In a few hours, part of a major interstate is shutting down between downtown through East St. Louis. The westbound lanes of 5564 is closing from the Poplar Street Bridge to Interstate 70. IDOT is resurfacing the area. It will shut down at 9 tonight. It should reopen again by 5 Monday morning. The westbound lanes of the MLK Bridge will also shut down. Drivers can take the McKinley or Stan Musial bridges.
Coming up, President Biden threatens to withhold weapons from Israel. Why lawmakers say it's not the president's decision.
He's a key player in former President Trump's hush money trial, and soon he'll take the stand against his former boss, when Michael Cohen will testify.
Looking to score some savings, Consumer Report shares its best products to buy in the month of May.
And we want to say a big thank you to everyone who donated for Give STL Day. It was all organized by the St. Louis Community Foundation, and you guys helped raise more than $4 million. There were thousands of donations to 985 nonprofits.